Hi, so in this video I wanted to talk a little bit about the differences between INFPs and ENFPs because I think that they're the most challenging of the introverted extroverted pairs to tell apart at times. So that's kind of what I'm going to be discussing today, and a lot of these things are a little bit more subtle things. So they're kind of small details about people who are these types that I've noticed. And this isn't going to be 100% either way. There's always going to be exceptions, and this is just my opinion. I'm not an expert on anything, obviously, so take this with a grain of salt. So the first thing is that ENFPs are louder, and when I say this, I'm not just talking about their personality, which is kind of a stereotype about them, when ENFPs can be fairly socially introverted sometimes, but what I mean by this is their energy. And if an ENFP is in a really, really good mood or a really, really bad mood and they enter a room with other people, the people in that room will kind of feel that energy shift. Whereas an INFP, when they enter a room, they kind of immediately perceive the energy there and it affects them that way. So it's kind of an opposite relationship. And ENFPs also, they know how to work a crowd a lot better than most INFPs do. And INFPs have very quiet voices. This is a recurring problem for me in my life, but it's also just kind of a trait that INFPs seem to have. It's really, really difficult for us to speak loudly or to yell. And ENFPs, they kind of just freely express themselves and at whatever volume they feel, is authentic for them at the moment. They don't have a problem with being loud. And also in terms of their clothing, ENFPs I think are more likely to wear statement fashion pieces or costumes and not feel uncomfortable about it, whereas INFPs, certainly there are certain kind of niche fashion genres that INFPs get drawn to, but I think in general, they don't want the attention that is often drawn to somebody if they're wearing an unusual outfit or something. So that's kind of the first thing, is the energy that ENFPs have in their physical presence and otherwise. And the second thing is that ENFPs laugh more often and more easily. And this is an oversimplification and a generalization, but I think it's kind of true. INFPs are a little bit more serious in general and more reserved. And one thing I've noticed about ENFPs is that their laugh is very infectious. It makes other people laugh just on its own. And when INFPs are laughing, we kind of oftentimes will look away or cover our mouths or, look down or something to try to hide it. So that's kind of an interesting distinction between the types. And also, INFPs are generally a lot more private people than ENFPs, who have kind of this tendency to overshare about themselves and others, not out of malice or anything, but they just kind of spill their guts with people a lot more easily than INFPs do. We tend to be a lot more guarded around people in general. We have a very small circle of acquaintances and friends, and we're happy with that, but ENFPs will just kind of, I'll make friends with somebody at the grocery store waiting in line or something. And ENFPs, along with that, they make friends a lot more easily, and they don't have an issue with having a larger social circle. And this next thing that I'm going to talk about a little bit, this is a stereotype, or not a stereotype, but this is going to be a generalization, because obviously ENFPs can be writers and can be authors and things like this, but I think that between the two, INFPs are more likely to pursue that, or to do poetry or whatever, because INFPs, we have this elaborate fantasy world that we live in that's going on at all times in our head, and we have all these characters that we've created and stuff like this, and we're more likely to kind of put that down on paper and express that. And ENFPs, I think, are more likely to kind of be consumers of that and be really, really into it. And, you know, they fully appreciate it in a very similar way. But I think in general, INFPs are more likely to be authors than ENFPs. And the last thing that I want to discuss is that ENFPs, they go through phases a lot more often than INFPs do, and they go through things more quickly. They get bored of things more quickly, which is a function of having, I think, lead extroverted intuition. And they get distracted by a new shiny hobby a lot more easily than INFPs, who are more static in their interests. And I think that extroverted intuition is kind of like the Renaissance man function. You look at Leonardo da Vinci, who's an ENTP, but he had just a wide range of interests, and so I think it's kind of extroverted intuition is like that, where it's a Renaissance man and they have all these just disparate interests and they explore lots of things really quickly, and they want to move on to the next thing when they get interested in it. So yeah, that's kind of a brief discussion about the differences between INFPs and ENFPs, and obviously based on generalizations. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please let me know, and I will see you later. Bye.